I'm sick of watching Caitlyn getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
For weeks, the WNBA had nothing to say. Caitlin Clark was getting hacked, shoved, and blindsided almost every game, and yet the league's response was total silence. No flagrant reviews, no press releases, not even a vague tweet from the league office. It was like they were watching it all happen and choosing to ignore it. The message to her was crystal clear. Handle it yourself, rookie. But just when it felt like no one in power cared, something changed. The silence cracked, not from the inside of the league, but from outside. That's when the biggest voices in basketball history stepped in. Steph Curry, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Tyrese Haliburton, Pascal Siakam. One by one, they broke the code of silence that normally separates the NBA from the WNBA, and they didn't hold back. This wasn't media training. This wasn't some PR campaign cooked up in a boardroom. It was raw. It was emotional. It was personal. These NBA legends weren't just praising Caitlin Clark. They were defending her, protecting her, and sending a message to the league she plays for. Don't mess this up. Because this isn't just about Caitlin getting fouled too hard. This is about a cultural shift happening right in front of our eyes. It's about one rookie forcing an entire sport to evolve. And if the WNBA doesn't realize what they have, it might already be too late. The silence is over. The NBA is watching, and Caitlin Clark just changed everything. In the world of professional basketball, there's an unspoken line between the NBA and the WNBA. NBA players don't usually cross it, not publicly. Maybe a retweet, a handshake, a brief locker room soundbite, but never full-on public praise. Especially not with this much intensity. But Caitlin Clark shattered that boundary. It started with Pascal Siakam, asked a simple question on live television: which players are getting the most love right now? He could have rattled off names like Steph, Tatum, or even his own teammate Tyrese Haliburton, but instead he paused. Then he dropped a name that turned every head in the studio. Honestly, it's Caitlin Clark. He didn't compare her to rookies in the WNBA. He didn't talk about women's basketball. He went straight past all of that and said she gets more love than Tyrese Haliburton, a current NBA All-Star and his own backcourt partner. That wasn't charity, that was respect, and it was real. Then came Obi Toppin, not the kind of guy who makes headlines. He's not flashy with words. His language is dunks, not interviews, but even Obi couldn't hide it. Caitlin's amazing, he said, wide-eyed. We cheer for her the same way she cheers for us. No script, no polish. Just genuine admiration. That kind of authenticity doesn't come from a PR campaign. It comes from the locker room, and it didn't stop there. Tyrese Haliburton, already one of the most respected young leaders in the league, took it further. He's not just a fan of Caitlin. He sees her every day in Indianapolis. He sees the crowd that follows her, the cameras flashing non-stop, the pressure she carries like armor. And even as an NBA All-Star himself, Tyrese admitted something most players wouldn't dare say out loud. She's top 5 most famous in all of basketball, period. Think about that. In a world dominated by LeBron, Steph, and Giannis, Caitlin Clark is being spoken about in the same sentence, not by fans, by NBA stars, in public, on record, and that's when the tone shifted. This wasn't about women's basketball anymore. It was about basketball, period. And Caitlin Clark was suddenly at the center of it. When LeBron James speaks, people listen. He doesn't just give quotes, he shifts entire conversations. So when he finally broke his silence on Caitlin Clark, it wasn't subtle and it wasn't safe. He didn't float a vague compliment or hide behind media-trained blurbs. He zoomed all the way out and made it clear that Clark's presence isn't just exciting, it's historic. She's bringing more people to watch, he said. More people want to tune in. But the line that shook the room wasn't about her stats. It was about her impact. LeBron pointed out that for the first time in WNBA history, players were flying charter, not because the league evolved on its own, but because Caitlin Clark made it impossible to ignore the gap. That's not hype, that's structural change. And for LeBron, who entered the NBA as a teenager with the entire future of the league on his shoulders, the parallels were personal. You could hear it in his tone. This wasn't just praise, it was a warning to the WNBA front office. Don't mess this up, protect her, elevate her, build the foundation situation around her instead of on top of her. He's been in that position before, dragging an entire sport forward while people questioned if he deserved the attention. He saw the same thing happening again with Caitlyn, and he wasn't going to stay quiet while history repeated itself. And that's what made his statement so powerful. It wasn't about men defending a woman, it was about one generational athlete recognizing another, one empire builder protecting the next. LeBron didn't just validate her, he passed her the playbook and told the league to follow it before it's too late. But the most shocking moment, it came from the only person who truly knows what it's like to bend basketball itself, the guy who made the three-point revolution real. Steph Curry doesn't just compliment shooters, he creates legends. His praise has weight because of what he represents. A revolutionary, a player who rewrote the geometry of basketball and changed how the world plays the game. So when he took the mic to talk about Caitlin Clark, everyone stopped what they were doing. He didn't hold back. Steph admitted he watched her game frame by frame and noticed something crazy. Her release speed is nearly identical to his. That alone should tell you how elite she is. But he didn't stop there. He praised her range, her confidence, and called her a performer, someone who doesn't just shoot, but puts on a show. Then he dropped the hammer. She's the total package. Coming from anyone else, that might feel like a generic compliment, but coming from the man who helped turn Klay Thompson into a myth and turned Jordan Poole into a millionaire with his seal of approval, it means everything. Steph's words are basketball currency. He's not known for hype, he's known for accuracy. And his comparison didn't feel like he was placing her beneath him. It felt like he was looking across, recognizing a kindred spirit, a sniper, a floor general, a spark plug, someone who understands not just how to score, but how to pull a crowd into the moment and never let go. Curry watched the hits Caitlyn took. He saw the disrespect, and instead of playing it safe, he said exactly what most were afraid to admit. If the WNBA doesn't protect her, this is going to get ugly, fast. It wasn't just admiration, it was an alert. And while Steph raised the bar with praise, not everyone followed that path. In fact, what happened next said just as much, if not more, than all the compliments combined. For every superstar that stood up and praised Caitlin Clark, there were a few who didn't say a word. And in this moment, that silence spoke louder than anything else. When Jason Tatum was asked about his favorite WNBA player, he gave a short, flat answer: Asia Wilson. No mention of Caitlin, no nod to her record-shattering rookie season, not even a sentence, just a name, dropped with zero emotion. It was technically a valid answer, but it felt cold, intentional, like a choice not to acknowledge what was really happening. Then came Kevin Durant. Same type of question. His answer: Angel Reese. Now, Angel's got talent, no doubt, but in a year where Caitlin Clark has carried the league's ratings, ticket sales, merchandise, and national attention, it felt like a calculated move. Two of the biggest names in the NBA had the chance to uplift the face of women's basketball, and they passed. Was it petty? Was it political? Was it personal? No one knows for sure, but one thing is obvious. Not everyone is ready for Caitlin Clark to be the center of gravity. Not everyone's clapping for the new order. Some are pushing back in silence, in subtext, or in carefully chosen words. It's exactly what Paul George warned about. He said straight up, there's going to be players who feel some type of way, who've spent years grinding in empty gyms, building the WNBA brick by brick, and now here comes a rookie, straight out of college, getting handed the spotlight they fought their whole careers for. It's not hate, it's human, but that doesn't make it any less real. This is the part of greatness that people forget. The backlash, the tension, the resentment. It always shows up when someone new threatens the balance. But while emotions were swirling behind the scenes, the numbers told a story no one could argue with. Was it petty? Was it political? Was it personal? No one knows for sure, but one thing is obvious. Not everyone is ready for Caitlin Clark to be the center of gravity. Not everyone's clapping for the new order. Some are pushing back in silence, in subtext, or in carefully chosen words. It's exactly what Paul George warned about. He said straight up, there's going to be players who feel some type of way, who've spent years grinding in empty gyms, building the WNBA brick by brick, and now here comes a rookie, straight out of college, getting handed the spotlight they fought their whole careers for. It's not hate, it's human, but that doesn't make it any less real. This is the part of greatness that people forget. The backlash, the tension, the resentment. It always shows up when someone new threatens the balance. But while emotions were swirling behind the scenes, the numbers told a story no one could argue with. Then there were the charter flights. For decades, WNBA players flew commercial, waiting in TSA lines like regular passengers, hopping flights with layovers, and risking injuries from tight travel schedules. But when Clark showed up, that changed. Mid-season, charter flights were approved. Why? Because the optics of a generational superstar standing barefoot in a TSA line with a duffel bag were just too absurd for 2025. And it wasn't just the league reacting. Corporate sponsors flooded in. Brands that had never touched women's basketball were now lining up for partnerships. The attention wasn't a fluke, it was business. It was visibility, it was profit, and all of it was tied directly to Clark. The curve wasn't steep, it was vertical. Overnight, she didn't just move the needle, she snapped it in half. For a league that had been begging for mainstream relevance for years, she was the answer they didn't even know they needed. But that kind of spotlight, it doesn't come free. And what happens when the league builds everything around one player and starts to forget the rest? There's no question Caitlin Clark is the reason everyone's watching. But when one player becomes the storyline, the excitement can quickly turn into exhaustion. For her, for the league, and for everyone around it. Every media cycle is Clark. Every headline, every highlight reel, every controversy. It's all orbiting around a single 23-year-old rookie who's still learning to navigate the league herself. The WNBA hasn't just put her in the spotlight, they've turned her into the spotlight, and that's where the danger begins. We've seen this before. The NBA made the same mistake in 2011 with LeBron. For years, everything was about him, until the fans started to feel the fatigue. Even greatness gets overwhelming when it's the only thing being sold. The backlash was brutal, the pressure even worse. If the WNBA doesn't learn from that, it could risk burning out its biggest asset. Clark's already carrying the weight of expectations, fan drama, league politics, and now resentment from some of the vets who paved the way long before she got here. Paul George said it best: there are players who've spent their entire careers grinding to grow the game, and now suddenly the whole machine revolves around someone who just arrived. It doesn't mean Clark doesn't deserve it, but it does mean the league has to be smart, balanced, strategic. They need to protect her health, physically and mentally. They need to invest in the other stars, the veterans, the overlooked talents who've kept the league alive for decades. And they need to build marketing that extends beyond one ZIP code. Because if the WNBA turns Clark into a one-woman show, it'll collapse the moment the spotlight flickers. She didn't come to replace anyone. She came to redefine the whole game. And that leads us to one simple truth that too many people still don't understand. It's easy to compare Caitlin Clark to Steph Curry. The deep threes, the lightning quick release, the fearless shot selection, it all feels familiar. But the truth is, this isn't just a copy-paste legacy. What we're witnessing isn't duplication, it's evolution. Clark's game is something new, a hybrid. She blends Curry's range, Magic Johnson's court vision, and the cultural spark of a Mahomes-level icon. She's not just a shooter, she's a force, a floor general, a disruptor, a walking storyline, and most importantly, a creator of moments, the kind that go viral in seconds and linger for years. What makes it even more wild is that she's doing all this in her rookie season, under pressure that most players don't experience until year 10, if ever. Every pass, every turnover, every foul she draws becomes a national conversation. That kind of scrutiny, it can break players. But Caitlin walks through it with the same composure she shows when pulling up from the logo. Even the NBA stars see it. That's why so many are speaking out. That's why others are staying quiet, because they know this isn't just hype. It's shift. She's bending the landscape of women's basketball in real time, not just with numbers, but with energy. She's got gravity, and in sports, gravity moves everything around it. That's why calling her the next Steph doesn't feel right anymore. It's too small. It reduces something revolutionary into something familiar. But Caitlin Clark isn't here to fit into someone else's mold. She's here to break it. And the scariest part? She's just getting started. Caitlin Clark didn't just enter the league. She detonated into it. In a sport that spent years begging for visibility, she became the face that forced the world to pay attention. She's not some overnight sensation or media experiment. She's the real deal, and whether people love her or love to hate her, the one thing no one can do anymore is ignore her. The WNBA wanted growth. They got a cultural event. Overnight, she turned gym games into sold-out arenas, background noise into national headlines, and silence into debate. NBA legends are defending her. Critics are dissecting her, and millions of fans are tuning in because she is on the court. But that kind of fire doesn't come without smoke. The pressure is rising, the resistance is showing, and the league is standing at a crossroads. Either elevate the moment or collapse under it. Because Clark isn't just participating in the WNBA, she's resetting its entire gravitational pull. The silence is over, the pressure is on, and now the league's future orbits around a 23-year-old sniper with a 38-second release. You wanted a spark, you got a wildfire. Now the only question is, can the WNBA handle the blaze they prayed for?